Hi, it's Tim and Amy from Go With Less. Another new day here in Vienna, and we are touring the beautiful Schonbrunn Palace. It's the summer residence of the Habsburgs. Kind of interesting. It's only like 6 miles from their winter residence in the middle of the city, so I guess it might be a big deal to come 6 miles away to the summer, to the garden, but that's what they did. I'm probably butchering every name that we say, just put that out there. Also, we have had a doozy of a time uploading video. So videos are huge files, and if you notice that the quality is like, what the heck, this looks like it's 30 years old, it is only because we have poor internet. So stick with us, because we don't always have poor internet, especially if you're new. We welcome you. But here we are at Schonbrunn Palace. Tim and I went online and decided to buy tickets in advance at home back in Colorado before we got here. We don't always do that, but this one we knew we wanted to do it. If you've been to Versailles, you know you've waited in line for hours to buy tickets. So it's summertime, hot, busy season. Let's get those tickets. We already know we're going to do this. It's a major attraction. So here's the line for people who did not buy their tickets, and Tim's going to pan to the line of people who did buy their tickets, and then come back to me. That's the line of people who did buy their tickets.
There is no line.
No line. Now here's the thing. Yesterday we had, it's kind of expensive here and all this travel. We're frugal travelers. So yesterday there is a major piece of art, like the biggest piece of art in Vienna, I guess, is The Kiss by Gustav Klimt, K-L-I-M-T. It's the one where like the man and the woman and all the gold robes are like embracing. I don't know about Tim, I really wanted to see that live, but that would have cost close to $50 US dollars for the two of us to go into that museum. And what we realized is that while we appreciate art museums, we have to kind of be picky and choosy with our budget. We're here for 9 weeks and we are retired early, so we gotta make choices. So we didn't go to the Upper Belvedere Museum to go see that in person. We haven't done a single art museum yet. And so art museums, so here's what we're doing, is we're giving ourselves permission to not do everything, because everything has a fee. And so while we're doing it on the cheap, we're doing what makes sense for us. So we enjoy walking around. Obviously, we enjoy eating, so we're doing a lot of eating. And so we're putting our money at the things that matter most to us. So join us for the day, because we're ready for another hot fun.
Hi, we're here at Schonbrunn Palace in Vienna. So before we showed up in Vienna, we actually bought these tickets back at home in Colorado. We paid about 60 bucks for the tickets, and the nice thing about buying them back at home is we got to skip the line when we entered the palace. So there's a line to purchase the tickets, and then there is a line to get into the palace. And so we skipped one line, but we're going to have to wait in another line. Also, we bought a little bit of an upgraded ticket, so there's a handful of things that we purchased with our tickets. So we're planning to spend probably about 4 hours here today. So this will be the most of our day today will be spent here at the palace, just exploring the grounds and getting our money's worth out of the $60 that we spent. So this evening we're going to go wash clothes, and so travel can be really exciting sometimes. So anyway, looking forward to our day today, and thanks for joining us.
Hi, we just finished our inside tour of the Schonbrunn Palace. We spent, as Tim mentioned, about 60 bucks for our ticket, and I don't know that that was worth it. So we still have half inside and half outside. We did a tour of all the different apartments and rooms in the palace, not all of them, but quite a few of them, and it is something like
so I'm
going to
say this, and then we may backtrack, but once you've seen one palace, you've seen them all. So that
sounds kind of like a jerky thing to say, I would think, actually, but it is kind of, it definitely reminds us a lot of Versailles in many ways,
yeah.
And I've been to Versailles twice. So at
certainly
$60,
the history is
it was a
different
lot.
here, and so
yeah,
there are
very
different things to see. But the things you're looking at are very similar. So I think the thing that really sort of drives home, and this was something at Versailles that we saw as well, it's like, it's amazing how much our lives today are better than what the royalty's life was 200 years ago. So anyway, it's if you haven't seen a royal palace before, it's certainly something worth seeing. If you've seen one royal palace,
so we're debating whether 60 bucks was worth it, and
Yep.
because again we are on a budget. So there's that. We're not done with our Schonbrunn day, but we're wondering, should we be doing this as we continue to tour the world? So let's talk a little bit about language, Tim.
Yep, so one of the things that we noticed in Krakow as well as in Budapest is that there's English is prevalent. So as a matter of fact, a lot of the signage is in English, and so it'll be the native language, so whether it's Hungarian or whether it's Polish, the signage is in the native language, and then English is often a secondary language. It's actually displayed
or spoken. So if you're on a subway or
So-
something like that, or at the airport,
Yeah,
like,
so we don't have
everything is
any
in English.
expectations when we show up in a given place that they're going to speak English. So we come prepared with the expectation that they're not going to speak English, hoping that we may be able to find some English here and there. So certainly in Poland and in Hungary,
pantomime.
both, it was prevalent. English was prevalent. Here in Austria, in Vienna, it's not as prevalent. So and it's something, Amy has a theory, and I think I'm buying more into this theory every day. But in places where there's lots of German spoken, or in places where German is German just is a widely spoken language, period. And so there isn't a need for people in Vienna to speak another language, so English isn't as prevalent here. In places like Hungary and Poland, where
Portugal,
where those languages aren't as widespread, they have to make some accommodations for other languages, not only English but other languages. But it does seem like that English is the secondary language that's spoken in these places, and to our benefit, or to make it easier for us, we're happy to see that English is in both of those.
we found the same thing on a trip a couple years ago to Portugal and Madrid. Portugal, everyone spoke English in Lisbon and Porto, but when we got to Madrid, fortunately I was taking Spanish lessons, but I used those big time. So we met many people who only spoke Spanish, and I think a lot of people speak Spanish, so just like a lot of people speak German. So a lot of people don't speak Portuguese like Spanish, like German, like English, so they kind of have to have a secondary common language for, and not just in tourist places, but we try not to hit all the tourist restaurants. Sometimes we do, but often we go to local places, and so we were just noticing something there with the language. Thanks.
So we're in Austria, in Schonbrunn Palace. We're on the grounds here. So one of the things we wanted to address,
easy for you to say.
It's not easy for me to say. One of the things we wanted to address is smoking. So something we've seen throughout the 3 cities we've been in is that
Krakow, Budapest, Vienna.
smoking is pretty prevalent. Actually, here in Vienna, it's been the least. However, what we've heard is that it's up to a restaurateur here in Vienna to determine whether or not they allow smoking in their restaurants.
They do have to have a smoking section and a non-smoking section, so it's not like the whole restaurant smoking, but as we know from the States, like that didn't really matter if you were around during the days of smoking in restaurants.
So we haven't been in a restaurant where it's allowed yet, but that's certainly something that we are hoping not to run into, but might happen
Hungary was a
here.
big one, though.
Yeah, in Hungary smoking was
everywhere.
And so walking down the street, I felt like at the end of the day, I think I'd smoked a pack of cigarettes a day just by the secondhand smoke that we experienced as we walked around the city. So this was something that just need to be aware of when you come here. I don't know that there's anything to do to prepare
We're
for it.
sensitive
It's
about
just,
smoke.
we don't like it, and so but it's everywhere. And so, and like I said, in Vienna, it's been the least of the places where we've experienced
But it's not
smoke.
on like elevators, it's not on the metro.
Yeah. But
so,
walking down the street,
out on the street,
it's
heavy duty.
Heavy duty smoking. So that's it. Thanks.
Hey, we are here in the orangery, which is kind of like an indoor greenhouse. So when it's cold weather, they bring everything in here that is temperate and protected from the cold weather. So what you see behind me is virtually the entire thing. You've seen the orangery, and you can save your money.
Hi, we're here in the Privy Garden at Schonbrunn Palace. And so this is a small garden that we actually paid extra for to have access to this garden. So that we also had access to the orangery. So the Privy Garden, we just walked in, but it seems like it's a very small garden. We assume the Privy means private. And so some of the trees and the collections from plants that they collected as a part of their collecting, including there's a zoo here, but they collected these plants from around the world, are here in this Privy Garden and on display. I don't think that this is a worthwhile expense, so the gardens outside, which we spent some time in, are incredible and free. And so here in the Privy Garden, I don't know that I'd spend the money to come into the Privy Garden.
Here's a little view of what the Privy Garden looks like. And it is pretty, there's no doubt about it. So we're not complaining about the Privy Garden. But the question is, as frugal travelers, is this worth the money to add on to your ticket? We're going to say no. This is pretty much most of it.
Hi, we're at Schonbrunn Palace at the obelisk.
We just are walking up the hill to the Gloriette, but wanted to take a nice little video of the palace. And then behind me is this Gloriette. Let's pan that in a little bit. There we go. It's a beautiful structure. I'm not sure what a Gloriette is. It might just be decorative, and we're going to see because we're heading right to it. Hi, there's our day at Schonbrunn Palace. We've been here for about 3.5 hours. We saw everything that our pass included except for the maze. A couple little hints. It was actually a little tricky to find some of the spots that we didn't see any employees at all once we got outside.
Signage was poor.
Yeah, so you had to find signs and they were few and far between, and we didn't see any employees. We saw some gardeners, but we didn't approach them because we weren't able to speak the language. So anyway, we did everything except for the maze.
The things that we the things that were included in our pass. We're actually on top of the Gloriette right now, or Glorietta. We're not sure, but we're on top of it right now. So we paid a premium to walk up the stairs and be on top of this.
And it's a beautiful view.
It is. I don't know that it was €3.80 to be on top of this, and so that's a little on the pricey side. Also, there were 2 different attractions within the beautiful gardens that we paid a premium for: the Orangery and the Privy Garden. And I also don't know that I'd pay a premium for either of those. They were
we're
small.
not going to recommend that.
So
if you come,
right.
Here's what we would do if we came back.
Yep.
And by the way, I want to mention that if you do the inside the palace tour, it does come with included an audio tour in the language of your choice. So it's not a guide. It's just like one of those things you hold up to your ear individually.
Also, there are free bathrooms once you're
inside. That's a big deal. Free bathrooms. Yeah, no one has free bathrooms. So okay, so once you
and free internet.
Free, slow internet, but free internet. So yeah, so those are some good things. But what we're going to say is, if you haven't been to a royal palace, if you've never been to a royal palace, you should check out a royal palace. They're pretty cool. But this had a lot of similarity for us to Versailles. Did you know that Marie Antoinette is from the House of Habsburg?
Born here.
So she's from Austria. Yeah, this is her summer palace as a child, I guess it is. And then she was sent off to France. So she is Austrian, and from this is her house as a little girl. So what Tim was saying is, if you've never seen a royal palace, it's something to see. We can agree with that. But if you have already seen Versailles, I don't know that you need to spend $30 a person to come here, unless you're looking to burn a little money. So as we talk about frugal travel, so we don't want to do the cheapest trip.
And when we say come here, certainly come to the grounds. Look around. There's a lot to see here.
You can come soak up the scene.
To go in and see the stuff that
you can still get the free internet and the free bathroom if you're in the building,
That's
right?
Exactly right.
So you don't have to have a ticket to get inside to get the free internet and free bathroom. You could come and just enjoy the day. There's benches. It's really nice and shady under a lot of trees. But we do talk about being value travelers. That doesn't mean we want to be the cheapest possible travelers, but we want to find value in things. And I think this one wasn't a good value, is what we're going to say on this one. Is that right?
I think you're right. So so if we could do it in hindsight, what we would do is we would simply come to the grounds
for free.
We'd probably spend an hour or maybe 2 hours
just
here
enjoy sitting
walking
on the bench.
around, looking at the sights from the outside for free, and just soaking up
and we would have had
what it is to be here.
We probably wouldn't have been sadder for it. So so the less we can spend, the more we can travel. So we believe that we want to spend our money wisely. So this one we're not going to recommend paying.
Yeah, and all the history that's inside. So the things that you see are just so you could learn about the history online.
We actually learned about almost all the history in our free guided walking tour.
That's right. So there wasn't much repeated here. A lot was repeated here today that we learned yesterday on our free walking tour. So that's exactly right.
Yeah, so thanks for watching.
Thanks. Take care.
Hi, we just finished our day in Schonbrunn Palace, and our friends Melody and Cliff were just here maybe a month ago and posted a really beautiful picture from a lunch that they had and said that they had been to a restaurant near here twice. So after Schonbrunn, we thought that it would be a nice thing to do because it did look really good. It's actually in like the palace grounds, so it's super duper convenient. I didn't realize that. I thought it would be in the neighborhood. But here it is. It's 3:30, so we're just having our lunch today. I did want to share what we're going to be eating in just a second, but before I do, something interesting that we saw on their menu here is that they sell like Viennese tap water, but there's a charge for it to cover tax and service and glasses and all that stuff. So in the United States, obviously we get free tap water pretty much anywhere we would go. That makes sense that so I'm okay that they're charging for that because we do have to sit in this beautiful place and have a server service us. So I guess it makes sense that it's not free. So I'm okay with that. We're told that Viennese water is
I like free water.
I do like free water, but I understand it doesn't make me upset. I fully get it. And so we're told that the Viennese tap water is the best because it comes from the Alps. So we actually think it has been delicious right out of the tap. Really, really delicious. So here we have something that's kind of like a ham cheese salad that we ordered, and then a nice meat plate. This looks beautiful. Tim's going to do a little pan around. It's like a guard. It looks like it's going to rain.
This is the restaurant.
Yeah. It's lovely. So he's going to do a little 360 as much as his body will let him turn.
We're a little late for lunch service, so the restaurant is a little empty right now.
It's a really sweet place. Yep. Lots of desserts on the menu, so let's see if we still have room after our light salad.